Hello, Year 3. Welcome along and happy World Book Day. I hope you are excited for it at home. Hope you've got off to a good start to the day already. So let's just start by thinking about what World Book Day might involve for you. So first of all, I hope you are all wearing your pajamas like me. This is something that everyone at school will be doing, all of you guys at home will be doing. The reason for that is because for so many of us, when we kind of first fell in love with books, would have been a bedtime story from mum and dad. And so we're trying to recreate that kind of magical moment where, we first fell in love with books, we first got excited about books and had our kind of bedtime stories. So hopefully you're all in your pajamas. Clearly, I'd absolutely love for people to be doing some reading today. I think that's a great thing that we can all be doing. So do try to find some time to sit down with a book and enjoy. It might be one that you're reading, might be one mum and dad share with you, but do try to take the time today to do some reading. It is World Book Day. And a couple of nice events that are happening online as well. So one of them is Jessie Younghusband School's own Masked Reader event. So a little bit like The Masked Singer, which I know some of you have been watching on ITV, we are doing The Masked Reader today. So on our YouTube channel, I believe mums and dads have been sent the link via email. There is a whole series of videos from some mystery readers from the school. And what you need to do is watch the video, enjoy the story that they're reading you, but also have a good guess as to who it is underneath the disguise, underneath the mask. See if you can guess who it is reading the story. There is one from me hidden in there. See if you can spot which one is mine. And finally as well, there's a really nice event happening at 10:30 this morning. Hopefully you're watching this in time to find out about this. At 10:30 this morning, there is this fantastic live event hosted on the World Book Day website. I'll put a link in the description box down below that you can access if you'd like to watch that. And it's called Words and Pictures, Bringing Books to Life, featuring some fantastic authors and some really interesting people. So if you want to get involved in it at 10:30, again, the link is down there. One more thing I just want to mention as well is that one of my favourite parts of World Book Day is the fact that we all get these £1 book tokens, which entitles you to a book completely free. Now, I'm going to be handing these out on Monday so that everybody gets one. Everyone's going to all be back in on Monday, whether you're home learning at the moment or in school. So I'm going to wait till Monday to hand out your tokens. But when you get yours, you can swap it for any of the 12 books you have here. Now, you've got to cash it in at somewhere that's open and selling a book, which, of course, in lockdown is not necessarily so easy to find. But I've been assured that our local Tesco, our local Sainsbury's, and our local WH Smiths are all open and are stocking these books. So that's the place to go to get these. Now, there's loads of fantastic ones here, and I know, for example, there's definitely going to be some interest in this one, Gigantosaurus Dino Spot. I would particularly recommend, though, these 6. I would say these 6 are good ones for us in Year 3. These would be really, really good ones to be having a look at. They're kind of the right kind of reading level for most of us, so these would be good ones to particularly be thinking about. Planet Omar, a fantastic series of books. Some of you will have already read the Planet Omar books. They are really, really good fun. They're a little bit like Secret Diary of a Wimpy Kid, if you've enjoyed those before. It's a really nice one there called Protect the Planet. That's a non-fiction book about being eco-friendly. There's The River Whale, there's Sky Steppers, Little Bad Man. Again, that's a really nice series of books you can get a copy of there. And one I know some of you will love, 20 Fantastic Football Stories, so another non-fiction book. There's a few others either side of that, but I would say that little range in the middle there is probably roughly right for us in Year 3. So those would be really good ones to be thinking about. But maybe you've got your eye on one. Maybe there's one you're really keen to get. And as I say, I'll give you a voucher for that on Monday. So without any further ado then, let's start our lessons for today. We're going to begin with literacy, and we're going to be today, as I've sort of mentioned a few times earlier in the week, you are going to be designing and describing and making your own book character to star in your very own book. So today and tomorrow we're going to make a little short story and turn it into a book in honor of World Book Day. So hopefully we're going to use some of the techniques that we've already learned over the last few lessons and the last couple of weeks, and we're going to write ourselves a fantastic short story which is going to be our own book. Now, just to really briefly recap, although I know that you picked this up really well over the last few days, we've been looking at show and don't tell. That's the idea of showing our reader with description what a character is feeling rather than just telling them. So instead of writing Bill was tired of waiting, we've had Bill tapped his feet, puffed out his cheeks and looked at his watch. we've also learned how to use inverted commas, and this is going to be really helpful so that our characters can say things in our story. We know that we put inverted commas around anything that our characters are saying. We also looked a couple of days ago at how we can make our reporting clause on speech as interesting and descriptive as possible. So not using said, but using words like yelled, maybe putting on some adverbs like excitedly, describing the character with some adjectives as well, rather than just saying their name, and possibly using some fronted adverbials at the start too. So over the next couple of days then, you're going to be making your own short story for World Book Day. You're going to be combining those two main features that we've looked at, and we're going to write our own story. Now, I've mentioned this a couple of times over the last few days, and I've said to you, maybe you can start thinking about your own character. So maybe you've come to the video today already thinking, right, I want to write a story about this. It's okay if not, that's fine, but hopefully one or two of you have already got your ideas down. Now, we're going to start with a plan. Now, I know often this is the hardest bit of all, where you've just got a completely blank page and Mr. Vass is asking you to think of some ideas, which is why I've sort of mentioned it a couple of days in advance, and maybe you've been kind of thinking about it yourself. But the first thing to mention here is that you can write about whatever you want. I'd like this to be a fairly simple story, because I want to just sort of do it just in a couple of days, a bit of a quick one, so that we're all kind of fresh and ready to start a new unit on Monday, all in the same place. It's just going to be a short story, so let's not do some sort of huge fantasy epic that's set in a completely different world or anything. Let's try and keep it fairly simple. We don't want a huge cast of characters, just a couple. But it can be about anything you want. Maybe you'd like to write a pirate story, and you're going to have a pirate character that goes and finds some buried treasure. Maybe you'd like to have a young girl winning a talent contest and joining a girl group like Little Mix. Maybe you're going to want to have a young footballer becoming the youngest ever Chelsea Football Club player and coming on and scoring the winner in a big match. Maybe you're going to have a talking dog or a talking cat character, or a unicorn even, or a robot. It can be anything you want. Now, if you're still a little bit unsure, if you haven't got any ideas just yet, that's completely okay. Maybe listen to the rest of the video first, and you can always come back actually once you've had a few kind of ideas and a bit of inspiration, because I'll be showing you my story, so that might spark off a few ideas. So you can pause the video now and maybe map out a few things already. That's fine. If you've already got some great ideas, that's amazing. But if not, it's completely okay just to watch the rest of the video and then come back to it later once you're feeling a bit more inspired. That's fine too. So for me, I was thinking, right, what do I want to write about? And you know what? I really enjoyed writing about Mr. Crass yesterday. And I quite like the idea of a really sort of grumpy, old, mean teacher, because obviously it's so far from my real life. And I thought, right, I could actually use that Mr. Crass character as part of my book. And what could happen is maybe this Mr. Crass character, this horrible, mean teacher that we talked about yesterday, could actually have his sort of comeuppance. So he's maybe really mean to the children, and then there's some sort of happy ending. So I started thinking about this, and I mapped out my own plan. So I'm going to show you that in just a second, but just to sort of recap briefly, we've looked at a kind of plan like this before, and it's not about writing out the whole story, it's just about getting some quick ideas down. So we would write a few notes for our characters, and again, remember, we don't want loads and loads, just a couple for today's story to keep it simple. We want a couple of words about our setting, that's where the story takes place, and then a bit of an idea about a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, normally the beginning of a story, particularly if it's a short story, is just about introducing the characters, setting the scene a little bit, everything's kind of calm and normal and happy. Then we get to the middle of the story where there's some kind of problem that needs to be sorted out. So something goes wrong and there's a problem to be resolved. And then the end, of course, is where that problem gets sorted out. So hopefully a nice happy ending, but even if it's actually a sad ending, it's still some sort of ending where the problem gets resolved or sorted out or comes to an end. So if you're really confident, you know what you're going to be doing, you can fill yours in already. Maybe though you want to look at what I've got first of all, just to get some ideas, that's fine too. So here was my plan I did. And I've got, right, my first character, Mr. Crass, the grumpy supply teacher. He's mean, old and grumpy, and he's tall, blonde, and wears glasses. And I've also got, haven't mentioned anyone by name, but I've put in a year 3 class who are fun and friendly normally, but sad and scared today because they've got this mean, grumpy old supply teacher. My setting is a classroom at Jessie Younghusband School. And I was thinking, because I wanted my kind of supply teacher to be quite sort of mean and grumpy and for this to be a real kind of like tricky, sad day, I thought actually about how I could use the weather in my story to help tell that. Because if I've got this really horrible, mean teacher, I thought actually I could add to that sense of it being like a really sad, horrible day by putting the weather as cold and dark. If it's a really, really happy, bright, fun story, I'm probably going to want sun outside, but I'm going to have a sort of sad, scary start. So my beginning, this is where I set the scene. I've got year 3 arriving in class, but are surprised to discover that a mean supply teacher, Mr. Crass, is there instead of their normal teacher. In the middle, the supply teacher is strict and cruel and he's mean to the children. He makes the class cry. So this is the problem in my story. There's this horrible new supply teacher there that's really mean to everyone and all the children have a really horrible day. But it's all sorted out at the end. The class discover that their real teacher, Mr. Vass, had been kidnapped and locked in the cupboard. They free him, kick out Mr. Crass, and enjoy the rest of the day. So that's my plan for my little short story. You can see that it's not a big, huge adventure epic because we're just going to write this in a couple of days. It's just quite a simple story. Really, we want it to be simple enough that you can describe what happens in just a couple of sentences in your plan. I have to say, in my plan, I've actually written in full sentences. You don't even need to do that. It can be really simple. If you want, you can even do your plan as a little kind of cartoon storyboard with just a few words. It doesn't need to be full sentences like mine. I just thought if I gave you as much information as possible, you'd get the idea. So there's my plan. Now, if I talk about this now, this might be a good spot after I've spoken about this to pause the video and fill in your plan if you're still a bit unsure. The next stage is going to be to design your character. Now, in class, we're going to make this an art lesson, so why not do the same? Why not actually take a bit of a break now and spend an hour or so designing your character? And by that, I mean actually drawing it, making it look really fantastic. And this is going to act as the cover for your book. Now, what you could do for this is just fold a piece of paper in half, like this, and that's your book. And if you design your front cover with your main character here, that will really help you before you start writing. So if you know what your character is going to look like, you've already got something to describe. And you might remember when we started our unit on character description, we started off with a picture. So this is a really good idea, particularly if you're not 100% sure what's going to happen in your story yet. Once you draw it, while you're drawing out your character, you might get some ideas, you might have some sudden inspiration. So this would be a really good plan. So, like I say, your character can be anything. It's completely up to you. It can be a singer, a footballer, a grumpy old teacher. It can be a pirate. It could be someone in the army. It could be a dog, a cat, a robot, a unicorn, a wizard. It can be anyone. Now, when you come to drawing yours, you might want to have a look down the Draw with Rob videos. Now, again, I've put a link to these in the description. But I thought, actually, yeah, if there's one that's kind of similar to the character that you want to do, that might be a really nice way to start you off. So if, for example, you wanted to do a robot as your main character, you could watch the robot video, you could draw yourself a lovely robot character for your front cover. And while you're drawing that robot, you can think, right, what's going to happen to my character? What's my robot actually going to be doing? So I've sort of mentioned this plan and then character, but actually, if you're still a little bit unsure, apologies, you could do your character and then your plan. You can do this in whatever order you wish. It can be completely up to you. And if you need to sort of get some inspiration that way, that's completely fine. But hopefully, by the time you sort of click on, you're going to have a rough plan, so you know roughly what's going to happen to your character, and you've got a drawing of your character as well. I should say, if like me, your character isn't one that happens to be in a Draw with Rob video, of course, you can just look on Google Images, and like I found yesterday, you can find all sorts on there, including some rather angry, mean-looking, blonde-haired teachers with glasses. Okay, so hopefully then you're at the kind of stage now where you are ready to write. You might have sort of paused the video, you might have gone away for an hour and drawn your character, but hopefully you're back here now, ready to write the introduction to your story. So it's World Book Day, we are going to write ourselves a little book. And you could do this inside your little booklet here. If you've drawn your character on the front, you can open it up and start your writing over here. So I'm going to have a go at mine. Today, we're just going to write the introduction, and we're going to write the middle bit and the end bit tomorrow. So today we're going to try to do that sort of introduction, the beginning of our story, where we describe our setting and introduce our characters. When we're talking about the setting, might be a good idea to use the 5 senses. So not just what you could hear, sorry, not just what you could see, but what you could hear, touch, taste, and smell as well, perhaps. And when you're introducing your characters, great opportunity to talk about show and don't tell. So try and sneak that in there as well. I'm going to have a go at doing one for my story then, so you can follow along and maybe see what I'm up to here, and I'll model some good writing for you. So I'm going to start off mine. I'm actually going to use a fronted adverbial to begin with, because I know I can use that to sort of set the scene a little bit. And I'm going to say when this is happening. Just after 8:45, which is when we get let in, don't we? Just after 8:45, the door to year 3, or the year 3 classroom, the year 3 classroom swung open. I can already put in a little bit of speech here. I can say, yay, said the children. Now that's okay, isn't it? Said the children, but I think we know from our last few days that we can do much better than said. So maybe I'm going to put cheered the children. And I can even put in a nice adverb here as well. So I want a nice ly word. How are the children cheering? They're cheering gleefully. Hopefully this is what you'll all be doing at 8:45 on Monday. You'll all be going, yay, and cheering gleefully. But it wasn't. The usual teacher stood or standing in the doorway. Okay, so I think now I need to introduce my character a little bit. I need to actually start describing Mr. Crass, who we know is this scary, mean, horrible teacher. So we're going to have a tall, blonde man with glasses stood. Now, I think here, this would be a great opportunity, wouldn't it, to put in some show and don't tell. So how can I show that he's a bit mean or grumpy or angry? I don't want to just say he looked grumpy or he looked angry. What would someone be doing if they were, let's say, a bit fed up? A tall blonde man with glasses stood with his arms folded. That's not very welcoming, is it? If you stand in the doorway like this, not very welcoming at all. So I'm going to say, a tall blonde man wearing glasses stood with his arms folded. I'm going to say, frowning at the class. So if he's frowning, again, I'm showing my reader that he's a bit mean or grumpy or not very nice, not very friendly or kind, rather than just telling them that. And again, I'm going to sort of make it seem like he's already a bit fed up. I'm going to say he was looking at his watch and tapping his feet impatiently. You know what? I think I can probably describe that a bit better. Let's sort of paint a bit of a picture in our reader's mind here. Rather than tapping his feet, I'm going to say tapping his brown boots. Might make him sound a little bit more almost like a sort of army teacher there. So yeah, brown boots, I think that makes it sound a bit more imposing. Now I think it's time for Mr. Crass to say something. Get inside. Now, how is he going to be saying this? I don't want anything like whispered. I don't want anything like, said kindly. What would be a bit of a mean way of saying something? Don't want to say said. I'm going to use grunted. Get inside, he grunted. I'm Mr. Crass, your supply teacher for today. Okay. If you're wondering why I've started new line there, if you think back to our work on paragraphs, we start a new section, a new paragraph when we've got a new person speaking. And here we've got this new character, new person speaking, Mr. Crass. Get inside, he grunted. I'm Mr. Crass, your supply teacher for today. Now, I might then go on to describe maybe how the children react to this, the fact that they're maybe a little bit unhappy. I'm not going to go too far today because actually tomorrow we're going to write our middle bit where we've got our problem and our ending. But hopefully that's given you a little bit of inspiration and a starting point for your own book. So just to recap then, a couple of things hopefully you've done from this video. Hopefully you have written yourself a plan, know roughly what you're going to write today and tomorrow. Hopefully you have drawn your fantastic character. We're going to be painting them in school, so maybe you can paint, maybe you can cut out, you can colour, you can use your crayons, you can use felt tips, you can do whatever you want. You can even, maybe, if you've got a suitable program, you can even sort of draw it on a computer in a nice program like Paint or something like that. And then hopefully you've got your introduction, your opening bit of writing like I've got here. Okay, I really hope you enjoyed this day, because you can take this in any direction you want. I want you to get creative, get imaginative, and start creating your own book for World Book Day. Fantastic. I will see you back for your maths session later on in the day, but until then, I hope you really enjoy yourself. I hope you get lots of reading done. I hope you watch some of our masked reader videos, and I hope you are really enjoying yourself there at home in your pajamas. Thanks everyone. I'll see you back for maths.